All right, so here we go. So I'm sure this is going to be the first of many videos and calls and everything. So I think I have an idea of the best way to get started. So obviously this is Search Atlas, and the way I was originally thinking of this. Hold on here, let me bring up there it is. Okay, so this is the little dashboard that I made a long time ago. So basically this would either be on, in LeadSnap, or whatever, but this is where somebody's going to put in all the information that they need for all the, that's going to be on the same schema for everything. So one thing about the advanced schema is at least 50% is kind of the same that's on other pages. So I was thinking about having a main dashboard. That main dashboard look however it wants, but I just kind of laid this one out. So anyways, a company name, and then once they put the company name in, they can scrape that company, just like I did before. When we go in here and we say, we want to go in and do, Salterra Web Services. Okay, so we wanted to scrape, all this stuff down here in the organics. Okay, you already probably have all the map stuff, which we'll talk about here in a second. But this is the type of stuff that we want to pull in. I don't know if you can set it to the, top 20 results, 30 results, whatever. So, but I was thinking that would go in this thing here. And then on the left side, there'd be a checkbox to exclude that URL. So if it does bring in, say, a negative review, or if it brings in somebody, Patrick with a K and not a C, we can kind of deselect that in this list, and it won't be saved or used in anything. So same with the business owner. So we can do, same kind of scrape. We can go in and do, sorry, my mouse is working. Terry Samuels SEO. And then all this stuff can come in. It can scrape all the videos. It can scrape whatever image carousel we have, and bring all that stuff in. And then same kind of layout, a checkbox on the left to exclude whichever ones we don't want to do. Short business description, long business description. Here's all the stuff for the map. Obviously, you have all this stuff if they're already a current client, if they're imported into your system. The four things that we like to see for the schema is the CID URL, the long URL, the short URL, and then the search URL. So the search URL, if you guys don't know what that is, it's the machine ID for that map. Every map has a machine ID. So that we want to grab that machine ID. Latitude and longitude, obviously. Other standard stuff, web address, business email, business phone, logo URL, opening date of business hours, checkboxes, or however you guys want to do that. Service and service URL. So this would be the main page. So you could actually take most of this stuff and go into and make the, what we call the site-wide schema. So whether it be the, organization or whatever. So there's some things that are good about his tool. We definitely need to bring in the way, lay it out much better. I don't really like the layout of this, and I know you guys will come up with a killer layout. But some of the stuff you want to, like, especially an article, you're going to get all my templates so you can see this stuff. So this is an article that is just a regular blog post. So this is all the stuff we put in an article. So obviously his system doesn't do that. So the one thing it does on every schema, and probably one of the most important things about schema right now, is what's called entities, okay, or semantic terms. So in schema, they can be abouts and mentions. They can be knows abouts. They can be all kinds of things. We have a tool. I don't own it, but it's a tool we use called Topical Relevance. I can give you guys I'm a login for this, so it's like $20. It's not expensive at all. But anyways, you put in your keyword, you can do brand, services, and this is something that is not included in most people's tools. So once you go in and you do the brand, it takes a little bit to come up with the different things, but it gives us all kinds of cool stuff. So, see, it's working here. Okay, so it came up with single keywords, entities, came up with some, the semantic keywords, single keywords, single phrases that Google already knows about us, entities, the frequency and relevance, So frequency of entities, and then the relevance of entities. And then here it comes up even with a web page schema that has the abouts and the mentions for that brand. Now, obviously, we want to be able to pull this data in just like the other data that we're scraping. And we want to be able to put a checkbox to exclude something we don't want to be known for, like landscape. Landscape has nothing to do with me. So I want a checkbox here on the left to say, do not include this URL string. But the cool thing about topical relevance is it gets us the most important thing, which is the machine ID. So Wikidata, Wiki links are pretty easy to get, I know, but these are the big things. When you can get the machine ID for that entity, that's the key, because that's where Google's going to understand it so much better. So, and you can do this with, I think it's 10 scrapes a day, so we keep libraries full. But if we could have some sort of tool in there that goes out and grabs this type of stuff, I don't know how hard it would be, but it's a very non-sophisticated tool as far as, what we can see it do, and then it'll do people. So, obviously if the person's got any kind of history, it probably finds some stuff on them. So, but again, it's just good stuff to bring in for abouts and mentions and some other things that we can automate, so to speak. We can also do that maybe with ChatGPT-4. So I would have to play with some prompts to see what kind of results we can get. I know we can get a list of entities, a list of LSI keywords, a list of semantic SEO terms. So I know we could probably come up with some sort of ChatGPT prompts to maybe do what this does. But I don't know about the machine ID. So we'd have to test it. So this is about me personally. So just stuff that, Google thinks it knows about me. So entities, relevance, and then these are the abouts and mentions for me personally. So some of them are good, GBP, plumber. I don't know why I'm listed for plumber. That'd be one I'd X. Siloing, I'm known for that. So yeah, so it's a very good tool, and it brings in a lot of good stuff. So another thing is there's a bunch of stuff missing up here. So there's probably going to be a second thing I build to kind of show you what's missing. Like one of the things, especially around product, you're going to get all these templates. So especially around product, there is so much missing. Hold on here. There we go. There's so much missing on this product. It's not even crazy, especially if you have multiple things of one product. Let's say you have a red shoe and a blue shoe and all that stuff. So all that stuff is missing in this schema. So then, of course, the abouts and mentions, which also ties in thing too. So even though, like I said, the Search Atlas tool is a good start, we just need to make sure that whatever else we can include here as far as fields for people to populate, we need to make sure we do. So, and some of the things aren't that important right out of the gate, like recipe. If we're sequencing these things, we want to kind of do it through our local businesses that we all kind of have. So, we can just kind of lay it out here. But I have all these templates in there. I've got an FAQ template in there. I've got an event template. I've got a how-to. I don't have job posting, local business, organization, person, product, video, website. I've got all those templates in the folder that'll be in the drive. But that should kind of give us a good start. Obviously one of the things that we like to do is, you're already getting a lot of the data from the GBP. So we bring in all that data and we get it. We can get all the machine IDs and all the stuff that we need, the CIDs from the map itself. And then we can even kind of look and see how we can expand the reach with the heat map tool. So that might be something that we look at for like a phase 2 or whatever. I've got some ideas around that. So, but the last thing is this is how we kind of install the schema. So this is obviously the back end of WordPress. We use a plugin called Header Footer Code Manager, and it lets us place the schema wherever we want it. Okay, so for instance, when I add a new snippet, I can name that snippet, it's usually JavaScript. But I can do site-wide, I can do specific posts, specific pages, specific categories, specific tags. I can do stuff just on archive pages, through shortcodes. So it has a whole bunch of deployment options for the schema for us to do it. Obviously, you shouldn't even put an option in here. All schema goes in the header. So this is obviously an analytics tool and stuff, so we can put stuff in the footer as far as events and tracking. But you can even do it on just mobile or just desktop, stuff like that. So I don't know how we're planning on implementing it, how your plugin works to we're going to be able to or have to be able to say, hey, we only want this schema on this page. So we need to be that specific. Or we want this schema on these 5 pages because they're all 5 a web design page. And we want to have the web design service schema on all those pages. So just keep in mind that we want to be able to implement, very specifically and very targeted, when we get there. So anyways, let me know. Oh, and also service schema is not even in here, which is kind of weird. It might be under something else, but I do like that he has these drop downs. I'm not a big drop down fan. I'm more of a checkbox fan, just because I think checkbox are cleaner, and drop downs, you can still make a mistake. But anyways, and then in the dashboard, like I said, I was, have a save, next, and previous. So if we did a next, maybe we go in and start asking them on the next dashboard more about a specific service, and we ask them specific things that we need for those to populate. And I have all this stuff obviously in the template, so it should be pretty easy. And we can save that. We can search. We can say, hey, I want to go out and find all the web design schema that I've made. So we can search the database and lead snap and say, oh, here's all the web design ones. You did one for, WordPress web design. You did one for affordable web design. You did one for Joomla, so all these different schemas will come up and be able to be organized. So anyways, I hope that helps. I will get all this stuff up in the folder and send it to you here shortly. All right. Thanks.